Hey y'all, welcome to Health and Wellness West Georgia. I'm Dr. Allison Key and I'm so excited today to have Dr. Priscilla Amoa on the program. She is our pediatrician. She's primarily in our Carrollton office, and you've been working with us how long now? 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, since March.
So excited to have you. She's less excited to be here. There's something about you get a camera out and people are just like, I don't know about this. But I'm going to tell you, if you take your kid to see her, you'll be so pleased you did. She's so kind and caring, just has such a heart for kids. And so there's a super important topic I want her to talk about today, so I brought her on. Kids have recently gone back to school. Everything changes. Good or bad, things change when kids go back to school. Life gets a little more hectic. The germs, the back to school germs.
Fun stuff, yes.
What's your biggest piece of advice for parents as they send their kids back to school?
That's right, Dr. Key. So kids are back to school. I think by now all kids are back to school, and it's an exciting time, especially after summer break. A lot of kids are excited. There's a lot of changes happening. We're having big transitions, whether from one grade to the other or from middle school to high school, elementary school to middle school. So a lot of changes are happening, and for the most part, kids are excited. But kids also react to any type of change, whether it's positive or negative. So going back to school, some kids are really terrified about all these changes. Some kids are actually going to new schools, new cities, a lot of changes happening. And I want parents to be on the lookout for the mental health for their kids. Mental health is big, it's nationwide, and kids are struggling with it. And, sometimes it's very hard to identify mental health issues in kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially the younger kids.
Yeah.
They may not use the words, I'm nervous or I'm sad, but they may do a lot of what we call the somatic symptoms. And so somatic means that they may tell you something that's going on that you may not think it's anxiety or depression.
Body symptoms.
Body symptoms, exactly. So what we see commonly, especially in younger kids, headaches, tummy aches, chest pain. Some kids may eat too much. Some kids may not eat at all. Sleep. All those things you start to see. And when you're noticing these things in your child, make sure you check in with them, see what's going on, but make sure you come to see us, because a lot of times I think we may let it go for a while till it's too late into the school year and we're falling behind, and a lot of things are happening. So when you start identifying those things, just check in with your pediatrician and make sure your child is seen. And there are a lot of things that we can do to help with mental health issues in kids.
And it's not always just throwing kids on medicine.
Absolutely.
Mental health is stigmatized, and of course as healthcare professionals we wish it was not. It's as much a healthcare process as high blood pressure is. But I tell people, just like with high blood pressure, there are things that you can do outside of medicine to help that get better. Same is true for mental health. The opposite is true. You can be doing all the right things and still need your blood pressure treated.
That's right.
You can do all the right things and still need to treat your mental health. So, at least in my house, and what I encourage parents to do is help your child name their feelings.
That's right.
Children we're not born knowing how to cope or knowing how to name our feelings. So, are you feeling hungry? Are you feeling tired? Do you feel nervous about tomorrow? It's okay to say that out loud with your child and give them the opportunity to say, well, maybe a little bit. My Luke is 10. He is the emotional one in our house, like a world of emotions. So I've had 10 years of experience of helping this child learn to name his emotions. Okay, you're acting like a lunatic in the floor screaming and crying. I'm not going to spank you. I'm going to say, Luke, are you hungry? Would you like a snack? Luke, why are you in the floor? Are you angry? You can't disrupt the whole family because of whatever emotion you're feeling. Let's go to your room till you calm down a little bit, and then let's talk about what you're feeling. So helping them name their emotions, I feel like is helpful and important. But sometimes adults can't name feeling depressed or anxious. Sometimes it's beyond just the jitters of a new school. So when do you really see like the peak of what we'd consider? Well, I'll say this. I think COVID brought this to the forefront for a lot of us, especially for young people. And now suicide is the #1 cause of death, right? In adolescence, which is
very scary.
Heart shattering. You know, that's heartbreaking for any parent to even think about that. And so it's hard sometimes for parents to acknowledge, like, I think my child is depressed, because we take that on and blame ourselves. Well, I've done something wrong, and that's not necessarily the case at all. So what ages are we most concerned about, like anxiety and depression, and from a healthcare perspective, what advice to parents is like, this is not just being nervous about going back to school, like this is something that is serious. Like, what are we looking for?
Exactly. Great question, Dr. Key. Before I answer that, I hear your point or your views about, you know, how mental health is so stigmatized, and sometimes parents are afraid to say, my child has anxiety or my child has depression because, oh my goodness, I've put this label on them. First thing I like for parents to know is mental health is important because your child is important, right? That's why we're talking about it. We are talking about your child having these emotions, not the emotions having your child. And I have stopped kids in the office that say, my anxiety and my depression. I'm like, well, no, it's not yours. It's not your anxiety.
I love that you said that, because that is, I shouldn't call it a pet peeve, but I always want to say that to people, like, don't own that. Don't say my anxiety, my depression, because it's not yours.
It's not yours, right? So we are putting your child at the forefront. We are letting be aware that some things are changing, and sometimes even acknowledging those emotions is a form of relief to the child, because they think something is wrong. And I always remind them there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Everybody gets nervous. Everybody gets sad. So the question is, when do we have to worry about that? And I think that overall, like I said, kids react to everything. You can say we are going to Six Flags tomorrow, and they can be nervous about going to Six Flags, even though it's something fun. So any new change, I think all of us really react to new changes. And the time to worry about is if it starts affecting how your child is. For example, we're falling behind in school. We're not sleeping at night. You know, we're having trouble going to sleep. They're not eating, or sometimes they may actually start eating a lot.
More,
for the older kids, they may start withdrawing more, check in, make sure everything is okay with them, but they may start withdrawing more, going into their rooms. They may start not doing things that they enjoy to do. So at that point, it could mean that the anxiety or the depression might be to a level that they just can't deal with it anymore.
And that's hard, because I feel like teenagers. So for instance, my daughter, she's in that puberty change. So she spends a little more time in her room, and she is a little more withdrawn at times, and she's a little more irritable at times. And, you know, we're like, oh my goodness, who is this person that, you know, she's changing. And so there's a certain amount of teenage stuff that goes on that's normal. And I think what we underestimate as parents is the importance and the value, and just sitting down with your child. If they're in the room, just go in there, knock on the door. You know, respect their privacy, but go in and knock on the door and say, how's it going? How's your day today? How are you feeling about things? I think parents would be shocked at how much their children are craving that conversation.
That's right.
And the room, the permission to say that I don't feel well and I feel like something's wrong. If they know you care and they know you're checking in, you're giving them permission to say, something's wrong. And that's when you know.
Absolutely. So checking in with them, whether even little kids, checking in with them kind of helps them out. And I think one thing too, especially for adolescents, teenagers, they sometimes just want you to listen without any judgment. And I think we are always so ready to solve the problem.
Isn't that true for women too, for all of us? Like, I don't need you to solve it, David. I need you to listen.
Just listen.
Just be a girlfriend for a minute.
So sometimes it's just been a bad day at school, and that's all that is. And they just want you to listen and no judgment. And I think we're always ready to fix and help fix up. And sometimes they shut down and they may not tell you anything anymore because they feel like maybe you don't understand, you don't get it. And and things like that.
You're always jumping on it or telling them what they did wrong versus letting them have that room to grow.
And sometimes you can ask, do you want me to give you my opinion about what you're telling me? Or do you want me to just listen?
Yeah.
And I think that gives them the opportunity to kind of lead the conversation. That's big. A lot of times when you're leading the conversation when it comes to mental health, kids will shut down. So when you give them the opportunity to lead, express themselves the way they feel, it's very helpful, and they're able to tell you more. And if you parents also have mental health issues, we have anxiety, we have depression, and sometimes you may feel like, okay, this is too much. And some kids might actually say, okay, can we go talk to somebody? And so that's when you come in, you see us, and a lot of times for older kids, they have the privacy of talking to us by themselves and expressing their feelings. So,
and it's not wrong to use the word depression or anxiety when you're checking on your child.
That's right.
I mean, there have been times when I have said to my child, are you feeling depressed? And I'm not giving them that so that they own it. I'm giving them permission to say,
exactly.
Yeah, I do. Thankfully, we've not gone down that road, but I have a strong family history and personal history of struggling with anxiety and depression. And I will say, like, you know, parents, okay, well, I don't want them on medication. Earlier intervention is better. You know, one thing I've learned in my own personal life is that I don't take medication currently. I have taken medication in the past. It's recognizing when you're going back down that path. You know, you don't want to get in that deep, dark hole.
Exactly.
Like, what do I need to do right now while I feel I'm just starting the downhill slide? So it's helping recognize and learn about yourself and what things you can do to help make it better. So earlier intervention is better.
That's right.
Versus waiting, you know, sort of living in denial till we're in a crisis point. And then there's a lot you can do besides medication. There are a lot of safe medications, and I think we are very fortunate at our practice to have what I consider to be experts in that field, that I would feel perfectly confident with you all treating my child for something like that if it ever became necessary. But what are things that parents can encourage their kids to do or can do at home or do with their children before it gets to that point, I guess?
Yeah. So first of all, we talked about talking with your kids and also being involved in your daily activities, being involved in the things they do, go to your sports games, and actually participate in any type of sport and activities improves mental health, I think, for everyone. So getting them involved in activities at school, extracurricular activities, and showing up for those events. You can also do things at home. You can have family time at home. You don't have to do or go anywhere grand. It can be pizza night on Friday, where we put our phones away and we're all just there.
I was going to say, I notice a big difference in my family when I say sometimes, okay, everybody, let's put our devices away.
That's
and
right.
That's including mine and David's, like, put them away, put them in the other room, shut that door. Let's play a card game, or let's go check the cows, or let's just go outside, or, you know, let's play wiffle ball in the backyard. Just anything that does not involve a screen.
That's right.
And you're fully focused on each other. That's huge.
Yeah, that's big. So that's pretty much what parents can do with their kids, checking in on them, checking with their school, checking with the teachers for the little ones, because sometimes we wait till the end of the school year before we're recognizing all of these things that are going on. And of course, come see us if it gets to where you're doing all of these things and we're just not seeing any improvement, things are getting worse. Come, let's talk about it. Like you said, it's not just straight to medication, and even if it is, it's okay because we have a lot of safe options. But there's also counseling. I have had a lot of kids that us just talking about it, they're better because we just spent time and talked about it. And I think we underestimate how beneficial it is to discuss those feelings, those emotions, put a name to it. That way the child can name what they're feeling. Because sometimes also, I don't know how I feel, and it's just giving them anxiety because they think something is wrong. But like you said, if you put a name to it, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling depressed? Then they know, okay, this is what I'm feeling. And then you talk about ways to deal with that. So counseling, for example, if we're able to get them into counseling, or if they need counseling, they talk about coping skills. And sometimes we talk about coping skills in the office too. And I think that's something that we're talking about, spending time with the family, also breathing techniques, watching TV sometimes, listening to music, drawing, so many things that we can do to help our mental health.
Journaling,
well-being.
I think, is
journaling,
good for a lot of
big.
teenagers.
Yep.
Well, everybody. But,
everybody.
You know, I know a lot of people, adults, that pick that habit up as teenagers because that's when you really start feeling some heavy emotions and dealing with heavy things. And so that's important. And I can't emphasize the importance. This is my personal belief in just positive affirmations to your children, like speaking positivity in life and good things over them. Like every day I try to tell my children that you're beautiful and you're smart and you make me laugh. Every day of your life you've made me smile, like I'm so proud of you. And not tie that to any accomplishment or behavior, but tie that to who they are.
That's right.
And, you know, not everybody hears that every day, and I think it makes such a positive impact on behavior and mood, and just we all, from the littlest to the oldest, we all need to be heard, and we all need to know our value, and that's such an important role for parents.
That's right.
To play and can help kind of head off some of this stuff.
That's right.
I would hate to be a teenager today.
Oh yeah, it's very stressful. It's challenging. There's so much going on, and you know everything is just right at their fingertips. So they're seeing all of these things going on in the world, and
the pressures, the access.
That's right.
People are awfully brave behind a screen, you know, with things they say or do, and you know, I think we make the mistake of giving our children too much access to the world, too much access to each other, even with the phones today. And children aren't always psychologically developed enough to handle and process, and so I think that's a huge part of the spike in mental health is this technology access.
Absolutely, and so they're getting exposed to a lot of things that they're not ready for, just like you're saying, and it takes a toll on everyone.
I say I'm 41 years old, and there's stuff that I don't, you know, I have a hard time processing that I see going on in the world, and so it's hard. And it's the bully at school. You know, when I was growing up, there's a bully at school. You go home and you're safe from that. Now it's the bullies at school and the bullies on the phone and on the Snapchat and on the social media, and you can't escape, or you feel like you can't escape. And so,
So it's so much pressure to be a certain way and act a certain way. And I like what you say, or what you said about the positive affirmations. I think sometimes we may tend to emphasize the negatives more than the positives. And for everyone, especially kids, it's very important for us to emphasize the positives. And that kind of helps them to live up to some sort of expectation of, if I do something good, everybody is happy. But if we emphasize on the negative, I think sometimes kids may be a little bit more rebellious because nothing that they do is good enough. And so they tend to live to that negative expectation. So if we're able to emphasize the positives more, of course, if something is wrong, we talk about it. But like you said, attach the positive affirmations to the child, not that you went to school and you got blue today. And a lot of parents will say, what color did you get today? Right when they pick their child from school. I do not recommend that at all, because
I agree.
then they start associating school to, you know, all of these things, and it becomes another anxiety provoking event for them. But it can be, what did you do at school today?
How was your day today?
How was your day today? Exactly.
Yeah.
And if they do something good, it doesn't have to be like, okay, you got a blue color, so you get ice cream. It could be anything. You know, so that way we're mindful of not causing anxiety for our kids without being aware, because no parent want to intentionally cause those issues for kids, but kids process things differently.
Well, all kids want their parents' attention.
That's right.
Period.
That's right.
So if they only get your attention when they've done something bad and they're in trouble, and they never get it when they do something positive, you never acknowledge the positive, it almost unfortunately reinforces the bad, because that's when they get your attention.
Exactly.
And so making sure that you're acknowledging the positive on the regular is so important.
And I will talk about one last thing. Nutrition is big.
Oh, yeah.
For anything. So even though we're talking about mental health, make sure you're watching what your kids are eating. Make sure you're pushing those fruits and veggies. I cannot talk about how little water kids drink these days. And so make sure you're pushing fluids for your kids. You know, everything works hand in hand, and we can't just say we're talking about mental health and that's it, but nutrition is important for everything. There are certain vitamins that are important for our brains, and we can get that from the foods that we eat. So make sure you're checking in and pushing healthy habits for your kids.
It's so much easier to develop healthy habits in a child that they will carry with them the rest of their lives than to be a grown person struggling with your weight, trying to break unhealthy habits. So when you can encourage those healthy habits for your child, it's not only good for them right now, it's setting them up for life.
That's right.
Especially drinking water, you got it. You're right.
Water is big. So.
Well, Dr. Mo, I have loved this. I just get so fired up sometimes. I'm sorry, I get excited, but you're brilliant. You're beautiful. We're so thankful to have you at 316 Healthcare, guys. If you need a pediatrician, she's fantastic. Come see us. You can give us a call. Find us on our social media website, 316 Healthcare. You can email us info@316healthcare.us. If you got more questions for Dr. Mo, we'll bring her back. She loved being on camera today. I'm telling you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Y'all take care. Stay healthy. See you next time.